My name is Daniel. I am 109 years old, and I still walk every single day. Not far, not fast, but I walk. People ask me how I made it this long, and they expect something dramatic, a rare herb, a secret ritual, a perfect life. I didn't live perfectly. What I did was give up 5 comforts, slowly, deliberately, long before they had the chance to take my strength from me. Comfort is seductive. It whispers, "You've earned this." It tells you to sit a little longer, eat a little more, sleep a little later, avoid a little effort. And at first, that seems harmless. The first comfort I gave up was the habit of sitting too long. In my 60s, I loved my armchair. Big, soft, forgiving. After dinner, I would sink into it and let the evening disappear in front of the television. There's nothing wrong with rest, but rest became default. Hours would pass without me standing. I noticed something small. When I rose from that chair, my knees argued more loudly than they used to. My back felt stiff, not injured, just reluctant. That reluctance worried me. So I made a rule: no sitting longer than an hour without standing. At first it felt unnecessary. Then it felt essential. I began standing doing commercials, walking to the end of the driveway and back, circling the house. Movement keeps negotiations with age shorter. The second comfort I gave up was overeating at night. Evening hunger is often boredom wearing a mask. I would have second helpings because the food was there, not because my body needed it. Fullness feels satisfying in the moment, but heaviness lingers. I started finishing dinner slightly hungry. Not deprived, just light. Lightness makes walking easier the next morning. And when walking becomes easier, you're more likely to continue. At 109, continuation is everything. The third comfort I gave up was climate perfection. I used to keep my house warm in winter and cool in summer, exactly the way I liked it. But I noticed that stepping outside felt more dramatic each year. Cold shocked me. Heat exhausted me. So I adjusted. I let the house be slightly cooler in winter, slightly warmer in summer. Not uncomfortable, just less insulated. I wanted my body to remember how to adapt. If you protect yourself from every shift in temperature, your tolerance shrinks. Tolerance matters when you're old. Now, when I step outside, the air feels like information, not assault. The fourth comfort I gave up was driving everywhere. In my 70s, even the shortest distance was a car ride. Convenient, efficient. But convenience steals strength quietly. I began walking to the market 2 blocks away. At first I felt foolish. I could have driven. But those 2 blocks became my practice ground. Balance improves with repetition. Legs strengthen with use. When you stop asking your body to carry you, it forgets how. The fifth comfort I gave up was sleeping too late. As retirement settled in, mornings drifted. I would wake, then linger in bed because there was nowhere urgent to be. Linger long enough and the body stiffens. So I began rising with intention. Not early for the sake of pride, but early enough to greet the day before it slipped away. Morning light matters. It sets a rhythm inside you. At 109, rhythm is survival. Now let me tell you something important. None of these were extreme sacrifices. I did not run marathons. I did not deny myself pleasure entirely. I simply removed the softness that invited decline. Comfort is not the enemy. Excess comfort is. When you are young, your body forgives. When you are older, it records. The ledger of small habits adds up. People think I walk daily because I'm disciplined. I walk daily because I'm afraid of stopping. Stopping becomes habit just as easily as moving does. There were days I didn't feel like walking. Rainy mornings, sore hips, restless nights. On those days I walked anyway, but shorter. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Even now my walk is modest. Down the street, around the corner, back again. I pause. I breathe. I notice. The world looks different at 109. Slower. Sharper. I have buried nearly everyone I grew up with. My world is small, but my legs still carry me through it. That is not an accident. It is the result of giving up small indulgences before they grew teeth. You see, comfort promises relief, but relief without effort turns into weakness. Weakness invites dependence, and dependence, if it arrives too early, is hard to reverse. There is more to this than walking, more than food and chairs and temperature. What I gave up was not pleasure. It was surrender disguised as ease. And that difference is what keeps me moving. When you reach 109, people don't ask you what you've gained. They ask what you've lost. Friends, family, strength, speed. And yes, I've lost all of those in pieces. But what I protected, what I guarded fiercely, was my ability to move myself through my own day. That's why I still walk. It isn't about exercise. It's about ownership. The 5 comforts I gave up were not punishments. They were trades. I traded softness for steadiness. I traded ease for endurance. I traded convenience for capability. And capability compounds. Let me explain something I learned slowly. The body follows the mind. If you begin telling yourself, "I'm too old for that," the body listens. It shrinks to meet that expectation. In my 80s, I heard many of my friends say, "At our age, what does it matter?" That sentence frightened me more than illness ever did. What does it matter? It matters because decline accelerates when you agree to it. When I gave up long hours in my chair, I wasn't just stretching my legs. I was telling myself, you are still responsible for your movement. Responsibility keeps you upright. When I stopped overeating at night, I wasn't dieting. I was protecting tomorrow's walk. Tomorrow always depends on today's choices. That's something youth rarely understands. At 20, you can mistreat tomorrow and still wake up strong. At 90, tomorrow is fragile. By 109, tomorrow is a privilege. I guard it carefully. There's another comfort I didn't mention before: excuses. Excuses are deeply comfortable. My knees hurt. It's too cold. I walked yesterday. All true, and yet incomplete. Pain is information, not always instruction. I learned to differentiate between injury and resistance. Injury requires rest. Resistance requires movement. Many people stop moving at the first sign of resistance. They confuse discomfort with danger. That confusion shortens lives. I don't ignore my pain. I adjust. If my hip aches, I shorten my route. If the wind is sharp, I layer up. If I slept poorly, I walk slower. But I walk. Because walking is more than motion. It is conversation with the world. I notice the cracks in the pavement that weren't there last year. I notice the tree that lost a limb in a storm. I notice the way the air smells different before rain. Attention sharpens when you move slowly. Stillness, if chosen too often, dulls you. I've also given up another comfort: the need to be entertained. Walking without headphones, without distraction, just the rhythm of my steps. In silence, thoughts surface. Memories, too. At 109, memory can be heavy, but walking gives it somewhere to go. It loosens grief. I've outlived my wife by 30 years. There were mornings after she passed when the idea of walking felt pointless. Who was I walking for? Not her, not anyone else. For myself. Movement is proof of life, and life at this age is not measured in years. It's measured in participation. If you stop participating, you age faster than your calendar. People often tell me I am remarkable. I am not. I am stubborn. Stubborn enough to refuse decline before it is mandatory. Stubborn enough to reject the luxury of total comfort. Total comfort weakens muscle, yes, but it also weakens will. Will matters more than people think. I have seen strong bodies surrender because the will grew soft. I have seen fragile bodies endure because the will remained firm. When I gave up climate perfection in my home, I was teaching my body to adapt. Adaptation is survival. If you cushion yourself from every discomfort, you lose resilience. Resilience is not built in crisis. It's built in mild, repeated challenges. A cool room in winter, a warm afternoon walk in summer, a shorter meal, an earlier rise. Small stresses build capacity, and capacity is what carries you into triple digits. There is something else. Walking keeps pride in its proper place. I walk past houses where younger people live. I walk past children who don't notice me. I am invisible in many ways, but I am not irrelevant. Every step I take is a quiet declaration. I am still here. You don't reach 109 by chasing comfort. You reach it by cooperating with reality. Reality says the body declines. It also says the body responds to use. I use mine, gently, repeatedly, and I gave up the comfort of waiting for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. Habit is faithful. I walk whether I feel inspired or not. Most days, inspiration follows action, not the other way around. At this age, I no longer walk to extend my life. That part is out of my hands. I walk to inhabit it, to feel my feet on the ground, to breathe air that hasn't been filtered through walls, to remind myself that movement is still possible. The 5 comforts I gave up were not dramatic sacrifices. They were quiet corrections, course adjustments before the ship drifted too far. And here I am, 109, slow, bent, but upright. If I have learned anything in these years, it is this. Comfort is sweet in small doses, but strength is built in its absence. And strength, more than luck, more than genetics, is what carries a man down the street at 109. One step, then another. And as long as I can manage that, I will keep walking. Thank you for watching this video. Click here to watch another video that might interest you.